Hello guys and welcome to Oddspedia Premier League and FA Cup. We have a mixed show because we have the semi-finals of the FA Cup, of course. Again, Liverpool, Man City. Let's analyze all the games with Tom Rennie and of course with you. Remember to leave your comments, press the like and subscribe. And now let's go on with the show. So we have a special weekend again in England. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing very well. I love a special weekend, and we get Man City Liverpool again. So I'm very excited. We get to watch the sequel immediately. Usually you've got to wait years for sequels.
Exactly. Let's see if it's not as bad as some sequels. The
recent Terminator films just should have stopped after Judgment Day. That's my view.
This is a deja vu, indeed. Man City, Liverpool. There were some people saying that this is the biggest rivalry. I think they haven't watched enough football in years because it was a great football game. Of course, the best you can see, I guess, in the world right now. But Tom, this is not a big rivalry, no? It was not historically, at least, a big rivalry between Man City and Liverpool. First question, do you expect the same game or a similar pattern in this game?
Yeah, broadly I do, because I think that they still bring the best out in each other, and I think they don't rotate a great deal in terms of quality. So if you lose Sadio Mane, you bring in Luis Diaz. If you lose Jordan Henderson, you bring in Naby Keita. You know, if you're at Man City, you drop out Phil Foden, but you can bring in Jack Grealish. So I expect it to be broadly similar, with the key elements of both teams being Mo Salah on one team and Kevin De Bruyne on the other. I still think they'll be pretty much the same as the league game.
And if we check the odds, of course, this is going to be played in Wembley, and the odds are a bit more balanced. Still, Man City, they are favorites 2.35. They were better in the Premier League game, but they will be more tired because I guess it's going to be more challenging the Champions League games against Atletico Madrid than Liverpool playing at home against Benfica.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. As we record the programme, we don't know how much rotation there has been. I don't expect a great deal because of how important these games are. They both want to win, City a treble and Liverpool a quadruple. So unless they've gone out in midweek, I expect both to have pretty strong squads for this one because they're incredible achievements. They are both on the verge of. But I still expect there to be the fullest possible 11s available. I don't expect there to be Cole Palmer and Konstantinos Tsimikas playing in this game. I expect full 11s. I expect a full Wembley. What I really enjoyed about the weekend's game at the Etihad, as I did at the game at Anfield earlier in the season, was the hell for leather nature of these games. You know, they were almost too fast for their own good. And on the rivalry bit, look, I absolutely take your point. This doesn't belong in the same category and conversation as things like El Clasico, De Clasica, even United Liverpool.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't belong in that conversation. But if we're talking about a rivalry of quality and a rivalry of great teams, I think it does belong in that conversation because you look at how many more points these two teams have got in the last 4 seasons than any other team in English football, in a period where English football has been the dominant force in European football, and thereby I would suggest world football. And they're so much better than everyone else. It's embarrassing almost for everyone else. United have spent the same amount as City in that period, and they don't belong in the same league as them. So there is a rivalry there. It's not a rivalry in the sense that they hate each other, but I still think it's a rivalry we can enjoy. And maybe a rivalry doesn't need one manager poking the other one in the eye for us to call it a rivalry.
That's a good point. Of course, everyone enjoyed the first game. We all agreed that Man City was better, but still Liverpool are alive, I would say. For FA Cup, Tom, you are always spot on. You are always super right. What is your prediction for this game? Still goals? Which team do you have this feeling that will go through?
I think this is another game where we're looking at a long haul. I think we're looking at both teams potentially having the lead at some point. I would certainly be looking at that brilliant variable market that I absolutely love, and it's well worth your time if you're looking for value in any game involving Man City. And that would be who is leading at half-time, who is leading at full-time, and who goes through in the tie. So I would be looking here for Manchester City to dominate the opening 15 minutes, as they do in most games. They've scored more goals in the opening 15 minutes than any other team in English football. I expect them to do it again, as they did at the weekend, and maybe as they did last weekend, to be leading at half-time. You can get Man City winning at half-time and the draw at full-time at 13-1. That already is very, very nice. That takes us to extra time. Add Liverpool to win on penalties to that, and you're looking at around 25 to 30-1. You can do two separate bets at around 13-14-1. Also worth your time. But I think we're going to extra time. I expect both teams to score, and then you're looking at two different bets you can win: the result at full time and the person to go through. And that's some good money in this one. I'd be looking at draw at half time. City at half time, draw at full time, Liverpool go through. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy one, but there's some good value there.
Indeed. For instance, Man City to win the first half is 2.9, already good enough, I guess. And both teams to score, as we can expect between these two teams, doesn't pay that much, 1.6. If you are looking for both teams to score, for instance, in the first half, as we saw at the Etihad, the odds are 4. So that's very good, very good. This is your prediction for the top game on Saturday. Still, we have another semi-final on Sunday, Chelsea Crystal Palace, the game of the season for Crystal Palace. Of course, they won the semi-finals and they arrived to the final in 2016. They lost in the extra time against Man United, and Chelsea, they will be playing at Bernabeu. We don't know what is going to happen yet, but for sure they have the capability, as we knew, of bouncing back because they have a great squad. You expect the current champion to win, the current runner-up to win also the semi-final against Crystal Palace?
Tough game this. I think with Crystal Palace, they are a good team and they're capable of beating anybody and they're capable of scoring goals against anyone, which can prove crucial in matches like this. I think 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴 coming back and 𝐬𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐿𝐿𝐴 coming back gives them a variation on giving it to Wilfried Zaha and hoping for the best, which has sort of been Palace's way for a few years. So a lot of faith in Palace being able to score in this game. Jean-Philippe Mateta is in his best form at Palace after Patrick Vieira said to him, "You're my striker. It's not Benteke, it's not Eduard, it's you." And they're getting reward for that faith Vieira is showing in Mateta. And defensively, in Mark Gay and Anderson at centre-half, they've got two of the better centre-halves in English football. Certainly better than what teams like Leicester have been able to put out this season. That's a good pairing. Some weaknesses there. The fullbacks are poor and the goalkeeper is average, but there are still good players at Crystal Palace who can cause damage. The big blow for them, of course, is that Conor Gallagher, on loan from Chelsea, can't play against Chelsea because of some stupid rule that we continue to persist with in English football. Like Conor Gallagher is going to score an own goal in the last minute to put Chelsea through. This season, he is a Crystal Palace player, so should be treated as such. But there you go. We are where we are on that one. Big blow for Crystal Palace. For Chelsea, I loved watching them against Southampton the weekend because it was just seeing a team playing when they were utterly furious. And you can see why they were utterly furious. Awful against Brentford last week in the Premier League. Real Madrid must have been very frustrating for them, conceding a couple of great goals as they did to Benzema, and one of the goals was pretty average. But in general, they were soundly outplayed and well beaten by Real Madrid. They wouldn't have been expecting that. So going to Southampton and walloping them 6-0 was flattering for Southampton, and I enjoyed watching it. We haven't seen enough of Chelsea being Chelsea this season. Rotation, I'm expecting to be fairly heavy for Chelsea. Might even see Lukaku start a game because I think they'll play their absolute first team in the Champions League in midweek. That does not involve Romelu Lukaku, so I'd expect him to start here. I'd expect people like 𝐜𝐿𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜 to start here. I'd be expecting maybe even Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Definitely not Ross Barkley. Ruben Loftus-Cheek to get a start in this game. So some rotation, but still strong enough to get past Crystal Palace. Low scoring here. I don't see this one being the thrilling semi-final that the first one would be. And this is one of those ones where I'll be looking for a multi-bet. Chelsea to win by a few scores. If you just go Chelsea to win here, there's not a great deal in it for you. 1.5, 1.6, it's not amazing. But I like a multi-bet. So if you go group betting, there's 3 score lines. you can bundle together. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. You get that around 3-1 as a nice Chelsea bundle. That's what I'd be looking at.
All right, under 2.5 goals, if you don't expect many goals, 1.98 right now. Lukaku is going to miss actually the Champions League game because he has a problem in the Achilles. So perhaps he won't be available for this one, or perhaps he's even more rested. Let's see. But this is your predictions, guys. Tom is very good in the FA Cup, also in the Premier League, but in the FA Cup, you are always right. So let's try to enjoy the semi-finals and let's jump into the Premier League because we have more games. Of course, this is a non-stopping weekend, and in the Premier League we have Tottenham Brighton. This should be a clear one, I guess, and actually the odds is 1.6. It's not a lot, but if we go with Asian handicap we can find very good odds. And right now, Tom, back in Tottenham with Asian handicap against Brighton especially, it looks like a good choice, although Brighton surprised all of us, I guess, with scoring goals first thing and then winning a football game.
Yeah, I couldn't believe last week. I was furious because I got all my accumulator right, apart from Brighton. I got the majority of my tips right last week, apart from Brighton. They really made me look stupid last week, did Brighton. So it cost me money anyway. So I kind of, through spite, want to see them get thrashed this weekend. But Tottenham, I mean, I did the Tottenham game last weekend, and in fact, they didn't play amazingly well across the entire piece. And if it was a brilliant goalkeeping performance of 𝐬𝐭𝐴𝐻 rolling back the years at Villa, which kept them in the lead at half-time. Second half, Villa pushed and looked more desperate as the game went on. And Tottenham, the front three, are just savagely clinical. And they won 4-0. Probably shouldn't have won 4-0, but that's not what football's about. That's not what Conte football was about. They realised they couldn't get through midfield, so they bashed it up to the three good players. And the three good players won them the game. But the goal scoring run, you're right to highlight that. They're scoring so many goals right now. 3 against West Ham, 5 against Newcastle, 4 against Aston Villa, 5 against Everton a few weeks ago. Even a couple of goals in the game they lost against Man United, inexplicably, a couple of weeks ago. So definitely the Asian handicap market. That's what I'd be looking at here. And frankly, I think you should be looking at them to score at least 4 goals. So I'd be looking at 3.5 here. Go for Tottenham to win, minus 3.5 to start the game, plus 3.5 depending on how you like to do this bet. But I think they will score at least 4 times against Brighton and Hove Albion. And I don't think, despite Brighton's sudden discovery of being able to finish from Trossard and Mwepu last week, I still don't think they'll score in this game. So Tottenham win, yes. Tottenham win by scoring at least 4 goals, yes. Go 3.5 here. And as I said to you last week, I got it exactly right on the Tottenham game. Double it up with 1 scorer. Pick one of the 3 that you like. At the moment, Kane's not scoring, so go with Son. So go for a win, go for 4, and go for Heung-min Son to be one of those scorers. There's good value there.
Well, Asian handicap minus 3.5 is 12. And the odds, if we go more cautious, for instance, minus 2 is still very good, 4.65. So this is a good game for your Asian handicap. Probably not the next one, or who knows, but I wouldn't go for it. Man United Norwich, because I wouldn't put my money ever, never in Man United, especially even losing against Everton with Cristiano Ronaldo furious. Norwich even won another football game, and that was a surprise. If United don't win this, is the end of the world already, no, for Man United.
Well, I look forward to the Man United meltdown, whatever happens this weekend. If they don't win 10-0, no one's going to be happy. They were just truly awful against Everton, even worse than I'd expected. I thought they would go to Everton and win in a kind of sluggish, but we've got better players than you performance, which they've done a few times this season. But they were epically bad, like inexplicably epically bad against Everton, and made Everton look competent, which has not been easy for anyone to do this season. The Rangnick era has been a disaster for Manchester United, an utter disaster. It's been an awful appointment. And the delays over appointing the new manager are now starting to affect next season. Teams are making moves. Players are making decisions about their future for next season. And Manchester United, 5 months on, are still wibbling on about who their next manager is going to be. It's an incredible mess for a company of this size to find themselves in. But we are where we are, and I think you get performances like last weekend because of the complete lack of any direction at the club. And that's not Rangnick's fault per se. You know, he's not done amazingly well, but it's those above him. They gave him nothing to work with and no support. So what were they expecting of a manager whose career has been long-term plan, and they asked him to deliver short-term success? It made no sense. They should have just got Allardyce. If this is what they wanted to do, just go get Allardyce. This is his thing. Come in, shape it up, get it done. And they seem to have hired the exact wrong person for it. And there are coaches all over Europe who do that. He's just the English example. But there's loads of coaches that do it. And, you know, they got this consultant in. It's a whole mess. He even played Juan Mata last week. First Premier League minutes this season. How mad is that he suddenly came on in a game? That made no sense. None of it made sense. For Norwich, I don't think they expected to face such an awful Burnley last weekend. I certainly never expected it, because Burnley having won against Everton on Wednesday, I think we all expected more. But what I like about what Dean Smith has done is that he's already built the Championship team for next season. And that's what we're seeing already from the way that Norwich were playing. I don't think 𝐬𝐭𝐿 could believe how much room he had in the Burnley box last week to score the second goal. That all being said, I'm still not brave enough to put my actual money on a Norwich win. There's no value here in any win for me that Man United are going to get. They're going to be at like almost evens to win. You know, probably 1.2, 1.3. I know I'm not if I'm allowed to say this, but it's not worth betting on Man United Norwich. If you're going to, just do Man United to win, if you really feel like you have to. But there's nothing in this market that attracts me at all.
By the way, I was also surprised when I was watching Man United Atlético de Madrid and I saw Mata, and it's like, oh, what the fuck? He's still there. He's still alive. But yeah, what a legend. Mata, a legend. Quite old. Then next game, Southampton, Arsenal. Arsenal doing the Arsenal thing, losing their Champions League spot. They were cruising towards the Champions League, and then 2 consecutive defeats. We could expect the first one against Crystal Palace. Of course, we couldn't expect against Brighton. Luckily for them, they are going to St Mary's, the perfect time of the year to visit the south of England. Yes,
I think the Southampton, you know, I say this to you a lot. If you're going to bet on Southampton, bet on what they got last week, because that's what happens to them. They go on these runs of results, and the run right now is awful. I think it's 1 point in 5 games, and some really heavy losses in that time too. And they were so woeful last week. You've got to take that with a kind of caveat that Chelsea, I think, would have thrashed anybody they played last weekend. So furious were they from the previous 2 results, and they've got great strength in depth. But there's no chance of a Southampton result here for me because of how indifferent the end of their season has been. My concern for Arsenal, I love the way you put it there, doing the Arsenal thing. That's exactly what they're doing. But I think a lot of that comes to the fact that Thomas Partey is out. So he came off against Crystal Palace, played in that game when he should not have played. And Thomas Partey does for Arsenal what, say, Declan Rice does for West Ham. Holds the team together, does so much offensively and defensively. You know, we didn't see the right Thomas Partey last season. We saw it this season, and I think he's been their outstanding player. I know that Saka and Smith Rowe and all these other guys have got the plaudits, and they've earned those plaudits. But for me, Partey is the one that makes this team work. They also put Xhaka out at left back against Brighton, so they've taken out their midfield unit. And suddenly, everyone else that comes in, 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿, nowhere near good enough. So that's part of why they lost last week. I think Thomas Partey is still going to be missing for this one, so that's a blow. But I think you're going to see Xhaka put back in midfield and the disaster area that is Nuno Tavares put back out at left back, because they've got to build the midfield again. So in this game, don't be looking at Southampton at all. It's not worth your time. I think Arsenal score a couple of goals here, at least 2. Could be worth another multi here, because Arsenal to win is around about 1.8, 1.9, be about 2-1. You can get 3.5 as we speak on Arsenal as a group bet at 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. But I don't think Southampton are going to score in this game. So Arsenal win, don't concede. I'd also be looking at Arsenal to win the first half and draw in the second half. Get the job done, close it down.
Okay, Arsenal to win the first half, for instance, is 2.7. Then Watford, Brentford, I would say that Watford almost lost all the chances to stay in the Premier League after that defeat against Leeds, although there are some hopes if they are able to bounce back and win this game. It won't be easy because Brentford, after being safe, they are playing pretty well, actually. 2 victories against West Ham and Chelsea, 4 victories in the last 5 games. So I guess there are no reasons to back Watford for this game.
No, Watford are the worst team at home in the country. They've won 2 games at home all season. They've lost the last, I think now 8 or 9 in a row, certainly the last 5. And against Leeds, they were utterly abysmal. They had the majority of the play, but never looked threatening, and they kept just giving Leeds goals. Like Samir at the back had an atrocious game against Leeds. So don't look at Watford here. Watford are going down. I'm not sure they'll win another game this season. For Brentford, I've always said to you, I think they'll stay up. I had some wobbles because they had no players December through March. You know, COVID and injuries nearly got Brentford relegated. Everyone's back, and you saw again. Look, they played West Ham at a great time last week. Let's get that clear. You know, West Ham had played Everton and Lyon since Brentford had last played. So there's a reason West Ham looked gassed and Brentford looked fresh. But take that away, Tony was great, and Bummo was great. Janelt was great. Norgard in midfield was great. Brilliant performances all round from a lot of players. Pinnock just bullied Antonio at centre half. That was really impressive. So look at Brentford to win here. I think Brentford will win without conceding. I think this is a good one to look at the throw-in corners market. Over 20 throw-ins and over 15 corners in this game is certainly worth looking at because both teams play in that way. But I'd be looking Brentford to win at least 2 goals. Double it up with Ivan Toney as well, who scores. And I think there's money to be made here on various Brentford bets.
Yeah, Brentford to win is good enough. Actually, 2.65, and you were mentioning that Watford, they are the worst team at home in the Premier League. Newcastle-Leicester is our next game, and I'm saying that because Newcastle, they are brilliant lately in St. James's Park for home victories in the last 4 games. The last one against Wolves with a striker that you mentioned when they acquired him, Wood, that he would score a lot of goals, and he's doing his job. But Leicester could be tough, although they are playing in Europe against PSV. This is another tough game, so they might be tired. What do you expect here?
Well, on Newcastle, you know, they have found a way to play at home. And I thought they did a brilliant job beating Wolves on Friday night because Wolves go into games to destroy teams, destroy the game, destroy any of our enjoyment of football. And so you've got to be able to get past that Wolves backline, which took a penalty to do, but they should have scored 2 or 3 more in that game, I think, Newcastle United. Bruno Guimaraes getting better every time you see him. Chris Wood. His work rate is tremendous up front. Miguel Almiron had a good game. First time in a long time I've seen him play well. So lots to like about Newcastle right now. Not just relying on Saint-Maximin as well, which has been the story for 2 years for them, but still offering something to the team. So Newcastle have a lot of goal scoring threat. For Leicester, what they did was the right thing last weekend, as opposed to what West Ham did, which was change very little. They made 7 changes for the Palace game and went on to win the game by 2-1. They built the team around Keane and Dewsbury Hall, who looked fantastic in the match. They played Patson Daka, who's barely played football for weeks. Soyuncu got a game. Now it's Fofana and Evans, their chief defenders, and Soyuncu played. So I expect heavy rotation again from Leicester following the game in Europe in midweek. And I can't see it beyond Newcastle. At 2.2, I think if that is just probably worth your time, the double your money bet on Newcastle to win. But I think Newcastle here are going to win a game in which both teams score. I think you're looking above 2.5 goals in the game cumulative, and I can see that Newcastle might score 2 or 3. I think this might be the game. Now Newcastle are up, they start to celebrate that fact, and they will beat a beleaguered and much rotated Leicester.
Great, over 2.5 goals, for instance, pays also around 2, and the last game, West Ham Burnley, also probably West Ham already tired. You mentioned it, that they went to play Brentford after facing Lyon, and they were pretty tired because also David Moyes is not rotating, and this game comes after the game in Lyon, which is going to be tough. I'm pretty sure about that, but Burnley was horrible against Norwich, and we know that West Ham at home, they deliver, Tom, so they might win also even without their best game.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham have not always been as bad as they were against Brentford last weekend. I think about the Aston Villa game, which they played after Europe, which they won. I think about the Everton game last Sunday, they played after Europe, which they won. So, look, I think that West Ham the first team is strong. It's very strong, good first team. But David Moyes said a few weeks ago he's going to keep playing that first team till they run aground. That was his phrase, and I think they did run aground against Brentford last week. I expect there to be, unless there's some injuries we don't know about at this point, I expect the first team, it'll be Antonio, it's going to be Fornals, it's going to be Bowen, it's going to be Rice and Souček. The back four, whoever's fit, they will play. If Zuma's fit, he will play. Dawson will play, etc. But I think West Ham aren't suckers like they used to be in games like this. I don't think they're going to concede a rubbish corner to Burnley, then not find a way through them. West Ham have scored in every home game in the league this season, and I don't expect that to end here. For Burnley, I think that they are looking down. Yeah. They're looking real down. Ben Mee remains missing. It's a huge blow because Collins, who's coming to replace him, is a championship defender. I think you're not getting big performances out of people like Charlie Taylor, who you got over his quality performances out of for years. Ashley Westwood, good passer, but is he a Premier League player? Josh Brownhill, good energy, but is he a Premier League player? Wout Weghorst is not scoring goals. Max Cornet, who I loved at the start of the season, is now missing open goals. Even at 5-1, I wouldn't back Burnley here. I wouldn't back them. I don't think West Ham are going to be susceptible to what Burnley used to do to them. So I think a draw is a potential here. A 0-0 draw is a quite high potential here. That's 10-1 right now. So I wouldn't discount that at all. If you're looking for a winner, I would go for West Ham, but I would go low scoring, potentially 1-0 from a corner. Some terrible corner in the 80th minute that gives West Ham a victory. But I don't think Burnley will score. West Ham win, low scoring, high corner count.
Okay, under 2 goals, for instance, 2.66. A pity about Weghorst. He was very good in the Bundesliga. But Burnley is a team that stinks at the championship. Then, Tom, wow, this passed quickly. Only you and me. No live video, but still, let's finish with your ACCA.
I still enjoyed it without the graphics. I still had fun. That's the important thing. The ACCA this week, I should have had a bit of paper with it on here like this.
I have it.
Like a graphic. Oh, good. So my ACCA is Chelsea. They will win against Crystal Palace. I think they're the only safe bet of the FA Cup Semifinals. Tottenham beat Brighton. Tottenham are the best team in the country right now, so they are going to win. Seems weird, but I am going to put Man United in here to beat Norwich, though at 1.2 it doesn't add much value, but stick it in there for a laugh. And Arsenal will win at Southampton. So a 4-team ACCA. Chelsea, Tottenham, Man U, Arsenal.
And I calculated the total odds for you, and it's around 5. So this is it, Tom. See you next week. Enjoy FA Cup, enjoy the Europa League, enjoy life. Bye-bye.
Hey, you enjoy life too, man.
Oh, yeah, this is what I do. What do you think? Is going to be Liverpool? Is going to be Man City? Tell me in the comment section, in the comments, of course. Tell me your tips, and don't forget to press the like, subscribe, or if you prefer as well, remember that we have a podcast for you. Bye-bye.